Kansas and West Virginia. The West Virginia Mountaineers now 13-point home favorites here in Morgantown. And this total's gone up. It opened 56.5. It's up to 59.5, 60 now, pretty much across the board. I actually am in action with side and total already in this game. I'm on the Jayhawks here. Kansas plus the points. I mean, for West Virginia, that was an emotional renewal of the backyard brawl last week against Pittsburgh, a game that West Virginia was leading, and then all of a sudden things fell apart in the fourth quarter. How many tip passes resulting in interception did we see last week in college football? And of course, we had one here in the West Virginia Pitt game that was a pick six for Pitt in that game that totally turned it around. I did see a lot that I liked from the offense, actually, of West Virginia. JT Daniels played all right. And again, they've got a brand new type of offensive system this year that Neil Brown is employing as the head coach. What he ended up doing was bringing in Graham Harrell as his offensive coordinator. Remember, he was Texas Tech quarterback with Leach many, many years ago. Was most recently USC's offensive coordinator with Clay Helton. He comes here to West Virginia, and all of a sudden, West Virginia's playing with pace, playing faster, an air raid, pass-heavy offense for JT Daniels. And look, it performed pretty well. I thought they'd actually move the ball for a large part of that game against what's supposed to be a very good Pitt defense. Pitt defense that brings back a terrific defensive line. Like we mentioned earlier, maybe some holes in their secondary, but West Virginia had a good amount of offensive success. They'll probably have some offensive success here because, look, Kansas is still not a finished product on defense. You know, that's still where they have ways to improve, ways to go. But I think Kansas can score some points against West Virginia. I did not really feel that impressed by West Virginia's defense. Abanaconda ran the ball well for Pitt against them last week. Keaton Slovis, we talked about it earlier. He looked way more comfortable than I expected against that West Virginia defense that definitely gave up some plays, gave up some yards on the ground through the air. And this Kansas offense, last week they put up a huge number, and it was against Tennessee Tech. So I don't want to, totally go crazy about what they did. But, I like what I'm seeing from Lance Leipold's team on the offensive side of the football. They started to get that offense going down the stretch late last season. Keep that in mind. I was impressed by it. Jalen Daniels, the quarterback, had a solid game for Kansas last week, throwing the ball. They got a great rushing performance from Devin Neal. It looked like they could have something there, and him as a running back for this Kansas team. This offense looks like it's got some pieces to it. And slowly but surely, Lance Leipold is going to, I think, gradually have this team more and more and more competitive. They're still ways away from being, a great, good, or an above average team even in the Big 12. But they're getting there. There's improvement here. And when you factor in this spot for West Virginia, coming off the Pitt game, I think this is a defense that I thought was a little bit shaky against the Panthers last week. I'm not looking to lay 13 with West Virginia here. And I think Kansas all season long, I think if you bet Kansas, you're going to actually end up cashing a lot of tickets with them. I think they're going to have a winning season ATS this year. And I think this is the perfect spot for them to show that. So give me Kansas plus the points. And I agree with the move up in the total. I think it's going to end up being a shootout. Total's already gone up from 56.5 to 60. I agree with that move. C-Mac, what do you think? KU and West Virginia.
I do think Kansas will be better this year. And this is an interesting game for them to see what they got, like you talked about. I don't believe still, though, in their defense. I mean, I like what I saw out of Daniels. I think they'll be able to run it a little bit, but that defense still has holes. But we'll see. Will West Virginia maybe not have such a crazy offensive game and their defense play better? Because their defense kind of, got picked apart there. But I liked what I saw out of Daniels. This is one, you're right, this could be a backdoor cover, but under 2 touchdowns. This is one I'm going to wait later on in the week, but I think maybe a first half, West Virginia here. You get under a touchdown. I think they can take care of business. They're always so good at home. This is where you want them. So I'm kind of looking first half here with West Virginia to get it done. But in the end, I think Kansas is a bit better, and maybe I'll look to back them at home. But still, I think this is short. Maybe last year this would be even more, 17. There's a little high hopes like you talked about in Kansas and Lawrence. But, I'm looking for the Mountaineers early here at home.
All right, West Virginia maybe early in this game to not have that pit hangover and be able to be chomping at the bit here to
I think they'll
bounce
be
back
fine.
at home against Kansas here. And this is going to be a statement for Kansas because, look, I think last year at this time, you'd be getting way more than 13, 14 points with Kansas in a spot like this. So they're already starting to give Kansas at least just a tiny bit of respect for some improvement. We'll see if it's warranted Saturday night, if they can hang within 2 scores on the road. And look, Kansas on the road has still been a very scary bet the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, the road performances, they've still got to show that on the road it can be competitive. This will be a good test for them on Saturday.